Hello, my name is Kylie Robin, and I am a Learning and Development Specialist working out of the Austin Domain office. We will begin Chapter 2 of the Managing at HomeAway curriculum, starting with Agile Leadership. Looking at our agenda quickly, our discussion topics include what is Agile, Agile at HomeAway, how those tie to our OKRs and KPIs, Agile's role in Level 5 leadership, building trust, and lastly, Agile managers. So, what is Agile? It's a mindset and not a process. If we adhere to its values and principles, then teams and organizations will have the ability to deliver quality outcomes, which will bring true value to our customers quickly and frequently. While iterative development methods and evolutionary project management can be tracked to as early as the late 1950s and into the 1970s, it wasn't until the 90s when a variety of adaptive software development methods began to emerge. Then in 2001, 17 software developers met at a resort in Utah to share all the different development methods that they'd been using, and together created the Agile Manifesto. In this publication, they cited a set of values based on their combined experiences of developing software and helping others to do the same. Agile values include individuals and interactions over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract management, and responding to change over following a plan. Now, this does not mean that they don't value the items on the right. It just means that they value the items on the left more. Tools and processes are important, but it's more important to have competent people working together effectively. And good documentation is useful in helping people to understand how the product is built and how to use it, but the main point of development is to create a product, not documentation. A contract is also important, but it's no substitute for working closely with customers to discover what they need. And a project plan is important, but it must not be too rigid to accommodate changes in technology or the environment, stakeholders' priorities, and people's understanding of the problem and its solution. From those 4 values, they also created 12 guiding principles. 1, satisfy the customer. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through easy and continuous delivery of valuable software. 2, welcome change. Welcoming changing requirements, even late in development, Agile processes harness change for the customer's competitive advantage. 3, deliver frequently. We deliver working software frequently from a couple of weeks to a couple of months with a preference to the shorter timescale. 4, work together. Business people and developers must work together daily throughout the project. 5, trust and support. We build projects around motivated individuals. We give them the environment and the support that they need and trust them to get the job done. 6, face-to-face conversation. The most efficient and effective method of conveying information to and within a team is face-to-face conversation. 7, working software. Working software is the primary measure of progress. 8, sustainable development. Agile processes promote sustainable development. The sponsors, developers, and users should be able to maintain a constant pace indefinitely. 9, continuous attention. Continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. 10, maintain simplicity. Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. 11, self-organizing teams. The best architectures, requirements, and designs emerge from self-organizing teams. And 12, reflect and adjust. At regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective and then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. So, why are we interested in our leaders adopting an Agile mindset across HomeAway? Many studies have been conducted on the success and failure rate of IT projects associated with Agile versus waterfall methods across a number of areas. The 2015 Chaos Report from the Standish Group also showed that the Agile method produces a higher success rate than the waterfall method, yielding a 42% success rate versus just a 14% success rate. Waterfall method is when you work on a project in incremental and sequential pieces, typically handing off between siloed functional areas. In the example we have on the slide, one person is responsible for making the tires of the car, then hands that project off to someone who is then responsible for making the axle, and so on and so forth. With Agile, the entire team is focused on providing an MVP, or minimum viable product, with the goal of delivering value to your user as soon as possible. This is an iterative process, so instead of building the wheels and then passing it off to the next person to build the axle, and then the body of the car, and then adding the steering wheel, brakes, and everything else, where the user would only see value once the entire car is produced, you start with something smaller, like a skateboard, that the whole team built together. The users may hate the skateboard, but you'll be getting that feedback much earlier in the process, and you may even find out that some people love it and that it does the job for them. Maybe a majority of your users actually hate the color red. Instead of having to go back to the drawing board and start again from scratch once the full car is made, you're in a continuous feedback loop with the user, providing incremental value at each stage of the process. Now we'll take a look at how this works at HomeAway. We must evolve as we grow, and Agile is no longer just for tech teams. Remember that Agile is a mindset. It is fluid and organic, and there is no magic bullet or one-size-fits-all approach. It is what's worked best for you and your team. We'll walk through a high-level overview of the two most common Agile frameworks we use here at HomeAway, and then look at an example of how our HR team uses Agile. Here at HomeAway, we typically use two of the most popular Agile frameworks, Scrum and Kanban. Scrum is typically used for teams that have the luxury of having fairly stable priorities. If the team can commit to a set of work for a set time box, typically 2 weeks, where the priorities won't change and are already known, then Scrum might be a good fit. Scrum is an Agile framework for completing complex projects where the teams work through a prioritized backlog in order to deliver the highest value items to the customer within time-boxed iterations called sprints. We're not going to go into too much detail, but in order to know some of the terms we will use later in this presentation, there are 3 roles in Scrum. The product owner is responsible for communicating the vision, prioritizing the backlog, and making sure the team is building the right thing. The Scrum Master is responsible for guiding the team according to the Scrum rules and Agile mindset. And the team is everyone needed to do the actual work and responsible for deciding how to build the thing right. Kanban is typically used for teams that do not have the luxury of stable priorities, like support teams or teams that work against tickets. They don't know what their priorities or what fires they're going to have to fight for the next 2 weeks because those fires haven't even started yet. Kanban allows the team to constantly reevaluate their priorities so that they are always focused on working on the highest priority items. Kanban is an Agile framework that does not have any prescribed rules or meetings or cadence, like sprints in Scrum. It tells you to start with the roles you have, visualize the workflow you are currently using, limit your work in progress, and then continuously improve your processes to enhance flow and prevent items from getting stuck in your workflow. Kanban tells us to stop starting, and start finishing. So, what does this look like in HR? Since we don't create software, we took the values and principles of the Agile Manifesto and rewrote them to be tailored to our work. We use combinations of Scrum and Kanban across teams, which incorporate product owners, Scrum Masters, and prioritize backlogs to help us stay on top of our workload, have transparency to potential blockers, and help us articulate when we should say no or yes, but not now. We have shifted our focus to data-driven decision-making by including problem statements, success metrics, and tests in everything we do. And we also spend time on customer experience mapping, trying to look at problems from our user's perspective to ensure that we're focusing on the right pieces at each step of our progress. The first thing Agile asks of us to do is understand our priorities and how to organize them. At an organizational level, that's where our OKRs and KPIs come into the picture. OKRs is a model for setting and communicating goals and results. Its main purpose is to connect company, team, and personal objectives to measurable results, making everyone move together in the right direction. At a high level, HomeAway's VRLT and Expedia Group's TLT operates under OKRs and 120 phases, the amount of time dedicated to each set objective. The end of a 120 is used to adjust and reflect. We know that not all teams operate under this model, as some prefer KPIs, or that is their legacy method. But at a quick overview, OKR stands for Objectives and Key Results. When you're identifying objectives, there are usually 2 to 3 objectives on a company, team, or personal level. These should be aspirational, qualitative, and actionable by the person or the team, and they capture what needs to be achieved. Then you'll have 3 to 4 measurable key results, or KRs, that are defined per objective. These should be quantifiable, meaning you can measure progress as a direct percentage of completion for the objective, and should be difficult but not impossible. These show how the objective is achieved. Now we'll look at KPIs, or key performance indicators. Choosing the right KPIs relies upon a good understanding of what's important to the organization. What is deemed important often depends on the department measuring the performance. So for example, KPIs that might be useful to finance will differ from the KPIs assigned to sales. Since there's a need to understand what's important, various techniques to assess the present state of the business and its key activities are associated with the selection of performance indicators. These assessments often lead to the identification of potential improvements, so performance indicators are routinely associated with performance improvement initiatives. Key performance indicators define a set of values against which to measure. These raw sets of values, which can be fed to systems that aggregate data, are called indicators. There are 2 categories of measurements for KPIs. The first is quantitative. These are objective facts presented without distortion from personal feelings, prejudices, or interpretations presented with a specific value. These are preferably numeric and measured against a standard. The second is qualitative. These are subjective values that are based on or influenced by personal feelings, tastes, or opinions and presented as any numeric or textual value that represents an interpretation of these elements. Teams that use KPIs at HomeAway could include sales, customer experience and support, and some of our product or technical teams. The main way Agile, and especially Agile frameworks like Scrum and Kanban, help us with OKRs and KPIs, that gives us a method for inspecting and adapting at regular intervals. In this diagram, we can see how a team or department may start with their overall strategy, which is driven from their mission or vision, and define a few OKRs or KPIs. These will help drive the definition of projects or large initiatives, or in some cases, it might be vice versa, where the initiative drove the KPIs. Then the teams break down the work for the overall project into smaller, achievable pieces of work, which are then prioritized into a backlog of items to be completed in order to achieve their goal. In Scrum, we start working on our items into our sprints, and at the end of every sprint, we have a sprint review where we inspect and adapt the work that we have completed. This is the perfect opportunity to reflect on our OKRs, to see how we're doing, and if we need to adjust our plan to achieve better results, like so. In Kanban, we make small improvements to our process and we watch for changes in our metrics and KPIs after some amount of time. If our metrics don't move in the direction we want, we undo that small change and try something different. The Agile mindset helps us see these not as failures, but rather as opportunities to learn. Now we'll spend some time focusing on how Agile connects to Level 5 leadership. Published in 2015, Gallup produced The State of the American Manager, Analytics and Advice for Leaders, which is a report based on over 4 decades of extensive talent research, a study of 2.5 million manager-led teams in 195 countries, an analysis from measuring the engagement of over 27 million employees. It examines the crucial link among talent, engagement, and vital business outcomes like profitability and productivity. 4 of Gallup's most important findings include: 1, great managers possess a rare combination of 5 talents. They motivate their employees, assert themselves to overcome obstacles, create a culture of accountability, build trusting relationships, and make informed, unbiased decisions for the good of their team and the company. 2, companies that hire managers based on talent see a 48% increase in profitability, 22% increase in productivity, a 30% increase in employee engagement scores, 17% increase in customer engagement scores, and a 19% decrease in attrition. Additionally, managers with high talent are more likely to be engaged than their peers. 54% of managers with high talent are engaged, compared with 39% of managers with functioning talent and only 27% of managers with limited talent. Third, managers account for at least 70% of the variance in employee engagement scores across business units, and just 30% of U.S. workers are engaged, demonstrating a clear link between poor management and potentially checked out employees. And then lastly, more than half of employees who selected strongly agree on meaning rated a 5 on a 5-point scale, with 5 being the highest, that their manager is open, approachable, and engaged in their role, and helps them set work priorities and goals. Additionally, Gallup's 2013 State of the American Workplace report revealed that 30% of workers are engaged, while 52% are ambivalent or apathetic, and 18% are actively disengaged. Gallup uses their Q12 survey to measure engagement for employees at all levels, which consists of 12 actionable items with proven links to performance outcomes. Their 8th survey, done in 2012, included nearly 1.4 million employees across 49 industries and 34 countries, and confirmed the correlation between employee engagement and 9 out of their 12 performance outcomes. Again, this demonstrates the clear link between effective and engaged management and employee engagement overall for a company. We know the data behind being an effective, engaged manager, but why is it so challenging to transition into great leadership? The skills required to be an effective leader are fundamentally different than being an individual contributor, and we fail to recognize this complete role shift. Oftentimes, we build organizations through hierarchies. The senior-most leader sets the vision and the strategy and communicates that down to managers, who operationalize that vision and delegate to their frontline staff, project managing along the way. The individual contributors are considered the doers. This type of method is called command and control, and is usually a good idea when we have a known problem space and a known solution, maybe something that looks like this, or like this. But what happens when there are unknowns or added complexity? This system doesn't work when you are in an organization that is constantly changing priorities quarter by quarter, constantly seeking to innovate. Maybe something like this, or like this. We must make the shift from traditional command and control management to a more modern management style, one that incorporates level 5 leadership and an agile mindset. There are 2 sides to this modern approach to management. The first thing you must do is understand how to manage yourself and answer the question, how do I change the way that I operate? As we discussed earlier, Your identity needs to make the transition from individual contributor to manager. There are 3 types of leadership that we'll take a deeper look at: expert leadership, achiever leadership, and catalyst leadership. The second facet is managing others, having an understanding of how to motivate and empower others. We know there are inherent operational aspects to management. However, there are 3 main goals that you should be striving towards. The first is to empower autonomous teams. Second is to grow structures to support mastery. And third is to energize people with purpose. Now let's take a look at the 3 different leadership styles. The first is expert leadership. Oftentimes, you're promoted into a management position because you are the best at what you do. But there is an entirely different skill set required to manage, and you are left with minimal resources to grow and learn a new way of operating in your role. Expert leaders are focused on providing answers or solving problems rather than letting the team find the solutions themselves with your guidance. Akin to command and control style of leadership, you're likely delegating work to each of your direct reports, and they are coming to you when there are roadblocks or escalations. Expert leadership managers believe that they are followed because of their expertise and perhaps because of their authority or leadership skills. They are tactically focused on incremental improvements within the team or group. Their style is more akin to one-on-one management and supervision, and they have a low tolerance for conflict. They either are assertive or accommodating. Let's watch a short video of why this style of leadership does not follow the Agile mindset.
Hi, I'm David Hawks with Agile Velocity, and today I'd like to talk to you about Agile resource allocation, or what I like to call people. And let's compare that to how we've traditionally done it versus how we want to do it now. So what we've traditionally done is said, okay, I've got project 1, and I figure out, okay, who do I need for that? So let's say I've got Alex, and I say, you know what, I need Alex for this. I'm going to assign some part of this to Alex. I also have Janet here. I need to assign some work to Janet, and I also have Cameron. So let's say we assign out all of project 1. We say, all right, Alex, Janet, Cameron, we need to get this done. Then all of a sudden comes project 2. So we say, all right, project 2, who do we need for project 2? Well, we need Alex, and we're also going to need Carter for this. So we assign some work to Carter, and we need Will involved in this. So we assign some work to Will. And then we get project number 3. So we get another project that comes in, and we say, who do we need this? Oh, we need Alex. We're also going to need a little bit of Cameron for that. And oh, you know what? We also need some help from let's say Carter. All right.
So, does anyone see a problem with this situation? Yes, we have a problem with Alex. Perhaps she's feeling overloaded, maybe very important. Maybe she's now thinking about asking for a raise, or even dusting off her resume and looking for a next job because she's so overworked. All of these are not good situations. So, what do? We go to management and we say, what are the priorities of these projects? And they come back and say they're all high priority and they all need to get done, and they've all been committed to by certain dates. So Alex has been given all of these things that must get done. How does Alex decide to prioritize her work? Well, there's one of 3 ways. The first, she might decide to work on the coolest thing, whatever is most interesting to her. Or she might decide to work on the easiest thing first, right? And get it off her plate the quickest. The third option could be that she works on the task for whomever is screaming the loudest, whichever stakeholder maybe she likes the most or wants to impress, or perhaps who's constantly checking in or micromanaging her. These are not great prioritization techniques. They are actually really bad, and we don't want to use any of these. But that's what we've left our team up to because the leaders are not making priority decisions. And you've left prioritization up to the person furthest removed from understanding the business priority. And they're going to prioritize your company based on the coolest, easiest, or whomever is screaming the loudest. So now let's take a look and see how Agile fits into this picture.
Right? In this world of Agile, what we want to do is we want to take and form a team of people. So let me just change this over. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say, let's form a cross-functional team, right, that has all of the people that we need. And we're going to form this team. We're going to call this our Scrum team or our Kanban team, our Agile team, right? So we're going to take all these people, we're going to put them on a team together. Then what we want to do is build a funnel of work in front of this team, right? Oops. And in front of this team. So we're going to build a funnel of work, and we're going to say we need to prioritize this work. Now, when we look at this work here, and we look at the things and we say, all right, we're not going to just assign all the work out to all of these developers over here. We're going to say, business stakeholders, you need to prioritize. Now, here's the problem. We can't prioritize project 1 against project 2 against project 3 because they're so large. You know, project 1 may take 6 months to get all of it done, and we need to make some progress on project 2. So what we do is we say, all right, project 1, we're going to break that down into little pieces, right? So project 1 is going to get broken down into some different pieces. And then we're going to take project 2 and say, all right, let's break that down and prioritize those pieces amongst the other parts of project 1. And then we're going to take project 3 and we're going to prioritize it against the other project. Oops, wrong color there. We're going to prioritize that against other projects that we have here, right? So now what we've given our team, we call this the backlog, right? And it's ordered by our product owner in Scrum. And we say, all right, we've got to make some hard choices as a business. We've got to decide which of these things are going to go before the other things. And instead of us assigning the work to people, we now are going to, instead of assigning the people to the work, I should say, now we're going to assign the work to a team of people, and then the team's going to work together to figure out how they're going to divide and conquer, right? They're going to say, oh, Alex is overburdened, so Will needs to go help and figure out how to help Alex, right? Because now it's a team goal. What we're trying to get is shared ownership of the goal together. So instead of assigning the people, we now are pulling work into our sprints, and the team is then swarming to get things done together. Thank you.
Now let's take a look at the last two styles of leadership within this Agile mindset. Achiever leadership. Achiever leaders believe that they motivate by creating challenging, satisfying ways to contribute to larger goals. They are strategically focused on outcomes and make changes to address environmental impediments. For their leadership style, they view their direct reports as a team that needs to be managed and orchestrated together. And they have a more moderate tolerance for conflict. They might be primarily assertive or accommodating, but can shift as needed. The difference between expert and achiever leadership is clear. Expert leaders might say, people think of me as a problem solver. I get things done. Whereas achiever leaders might say, I used to jump in and start firefighting, but now I take a breath and try to understand how problems are connected. And then lastly, we have catalyst leadership. Catalyst leaders believe that they motivate by articulating an inspiring vision and then empower and develop others to deliver. They develop organizational scope and capacity to meet any challenge, and they create highly participative and empowered teams that lead change together. During pivotal conversations, they have the greatest tolerance for conflict. They combine assertiveness and accommodation with advocacy and inquiry. Catalyst leaders say, we got our people together, told them what the problem was and the outcomes that we needed, and then turned them loose to do their best and most creative thinking. We believe that catalyst leadership aligns most closely with the values and the behaviors of level 5 leadership. You can see that here. When you adopt a catalyst leadership style, you're able to influence through ambiguity and change much easier than if you were in an expert or achiever leadership style. Because experts are known as being the end-all be-alls with all of the answers and who you escalate challenging situations or decisions to, they have a larger sphere of control, which also makes it more challenging for them to delegate. Therefore, when they're gone, it's left up to the team to understand what to do, and they might not know where to go or how to get those answers. So again, without their presence, their sphere of influence is quite small. Whereas a catalyst leader helps create high-performing teams by providing them the necessary autonomy to do their work, the support to become masters of their craft, and the appropriate purpose to achieve results. Therefore, the catalyst leader could be removed from the team, and this team would still be able to function at a very highly productive and efficient level. HBR recently completed a study of 195 leaders in 15 countries across 30 global organizations. Participants were asked to choose the 15 most important leadership competencies from a list of 74. The top ones were grouped into 5 major themes that suggest a set of priorities for leaders. The top competency categories are: 1. Demonstrates strong ethics and provides a sense of safety. 2. Empowers others to self-organize. 3. Fosters a sense of connection and belonging. 4. Shows openness to new ideas and fosters organizational learning. And 5. Nurtures growth. Looking at these top 5 competencies, there's a clear connection between these and the tenets of level 5 leadership and the catalyst leadership style that manifests from Agile. So, how do you go back to your teams and try and incorporate this new style? 1, you could define and evangelize a clear and compelling vision for your team. 2, create alignment and clarity through constant, clear communication. 3, provide mentoring and career growth paths. 4, circulate and advanced learning proactively. 5, help maintain consistency across teams, functions, and departments. And 6, create and maintain high-performing teams empowered to solve business problems. All of this is easier said than done. However, we'll spend the final part of this presentation talking about how you can build trust in order to enable you to become a level 5 leader. For this part of the presentation, we understand that trust means different things to different people across different cultures. So for this part of the presentation, we're going to define trust as the ability to feel safe to openly share your opinions, thoughts, and feedback free from judgment and assume positive intent in others. This also is vice versa and reciprocated. Others will trust you to get your work done, hold you accountable, and be transparent. These are all clearly tied to our values and to building a trust culture that we want to see at HomeAway. Take a moment to think of 3 people that you trust the most in your life currently, and think about why. Now take a moment to think about who are 3 people in your life upon whom your happiness and well-being most depends. Are the people that you listed in the first question the same as the people you listed in the second question? If not, why? Sometimes we'll see that the people listed in the first question might be friends or family, those that trust you and know you most intimately. And sometimes we'll see people for the second question start to include coworkers or bosses as identified as someone whom your happiness and well-being most depends. Imagine a person that most people's well-being depends upon the most does not make it to their most trusted list. I wonder why they didn't make the most trusted list. Do you think you'd be listed among the top 3 most trusted people in your direct reports list? Do you think you should be on that list? The logic is simple. If people trust you, they will give you 110% of their time and energies to be productive and to do the right work. If you're familiar with The Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey, then you'll know that he points out that high trust equals high speed and at low cost, whereas low trust equates to low speed at high cost. The example I'll share here is about airline travel. Prior to 9/11, one could reach the airport just 30 minutes before their flight time and easily make it on board. Why? Because people had a high level of trust in aviation security. Now it takes anywhere from an hour and a half to sometimes 3 hours or longer. A team with high trust will produce results faster and at a lower cost. Even in situations that don't demand firing someone, the chances of earning the trust of a direct report with less than stellar performance are low. As a manager, you will need to give tough feedback and demand higher levels of performance. Very few people have high enough maturity and self-awareness to fairly judge their manager's behavior towards them. It's much easier to blame your manager than to accept responsibility for your own performance. We look at this scenario. One of your direct reports has been underperforming for a while now. You've invested in training, coaching, and provided direct feedback frequently on how to improve, but have seen no improvement. You're now convinced that this person needs to be let go. Even if you handle the conversation in the nicest, most professional way, what are the chances that he or she will trust your judgment and respect the fact that you gave him or her every possible opportunity to succeed? This is a difficult situation for managers to be in. So what are you to do? We recommend that you try maximizing trust by using the 20-60-20 strategy. For your top 20%, those highest performing and most dedicated individuals, do everything in your power to ensure that they trust you without a doubt. For your reasonably high solid citizens, the ones that come in and do the job right, but maybe aren't quite high potential or high performing, try and maintain a solid level of trust with these individuals. And then lastly, don't overinvest in your bottom 20%. Don't try and spend too much time getting them to trust you. No matter how much you try, not everyone will love you. Trying to win the trust of your least productive people is, unfortunately, not an efficient use of your time and effort. This does not mean that you forget about your underperformers. You just need to recognize that the opportunities for you to maximize or optimize trust in those relationships will be fewer and farther between. So how do you manage your trust building relationships with each category of performer without showing favoritism or bias to different individuals on your team? We recommend that you try and build trust relationships at a higher degree during check-ins with your top 20 or top 80% of performers. This means that maybe you're focusing less on business challenges or day-to-day work and spending that time more on coaching or career aspirational conversations. For your bottom 20%, maybe you're spending that dedicated check-in time more on expectations for the role, helping them get projects done, or helping them troubleshoot situations that they're facing. We've identified 6 behaviors that can help you build trust as a leader. The first is commitment, the cause or purpose that you pursue, your vision for a better future. Commitment towards a purpose or vision is the primary driver of leadership trust. If one is to follow a leader with full commitment, there should be no doubt that the leader is also fully committed to the stated purpose. If a vision provides hope and inspiration to people, they will willingly give their trust and fellowship to it. On the other hand, if they don't connect with the leader's vision at an emotional level or doubt the commitment of the leader towards that vision, then they will find it difficult to trust that individual. Second is character. Not only is it important for followers to know that the leader is committed to a worthy purpose, but they must also believe that the leader wants to pursue that purpose by playing according to the right set of values. Imagine 2 leaders are fighting for a just cause that you strongly believe in. One is pursuing success through violent means, while the other is using peaceful means. Which one will you trust and follow? The answer will depend on your own set of values. We're not trying to differentiate between right and wrong. We just want to highlight the fact that character, or deeply held values, plays a huge role in earning trust. Competence. How many of you have been in a situation where you felt that you knew more about how to do your job than your manager did? To earn trust, a leader must have a core competence in his or her chosen field. Here is where that first level of expert leadership comes into play. However, in today's world, it's almost impossible for someone who does not have sufficient knowledge and expertise, as well as a drive to continuously grow and master new things, to earn the respect of his or her team. Fourth, consistency. If you do what you say and deliver what you promise, people will trust you. If you don't, they won't. It's really that simple. It's hard to trust someone who is inconsistent with their dependability. Caring. There are 2 types of managers, those that genuinely care for their people and those that don't. If I know that my manager will always take care of my best interests, then I will be more willing to give her my very best efforts and energy. But on the other hand, if I have managers that's likely to throw me under the bus to save her own skin, I will use a big part of my energy to just take care of myself. And lastly, centricity. Some managers are self-centric and some are other-centric. Self-centric people care most about themselves and strive hard to create a better future for themselves. Self-centric people operate from the mindset of, if I don't take care of myself and maximize my own gain, no one else will. This aligns closely with the values of a cheater leadership as well as level 4 leadership. Other-centric people focus on the worldview that if I take care of others, my interests will be taken care of automatically. This most closely aligns with catalyst leadership and level 5 leadership. Here are some reflection questions for you to think about as it relates to your trust building habits with your team. Take a moment to review these questions and think about what your 6 C's answers are. Now that we've learned about the importance of building trust as well as a strategy and behaviors to do so, let's take a closer look at what it really means to be an Agile manager. There are 2 scenarios as an Agile manager that you will most likely fall into if you've already started on your Agile journey. The first situation is that you're a manager of Agile team members, but you are not on their Agile teams, meaning you're not involved in their day-to-day work. The second situation is that you're a manager of an Agile team and you are a member of their team, meaning that you are involved in the team's day-to-day work and possibly also doing some of the other work, player coach mentality, or helping prioritize work and maintaining the team's clear sense of vision and goals. If you're in scenario 2, where you're on an Agile team with your team members, consider what role you play. Are you a product owner, a scrum master? What title are you? So, what do you do if you're a manager in scenario 1? If you're new to being a manager in scenario 1, you may be thinking that if you're no longer an expert, how do you provide value? What do? You are still able to be the expert, you just do it from the sidelines as a coach. First and foremost, you have to help your reports build a foundation of trust so they feel comfortable escalating to you and being empowered to move full speed ahead without you when appropriate. You help your teams grow by learning what you know as the expert as you coach them through solving their problems instead of solving problems for them. You provide guidance as a stakeholder in the team's sprint reviews. You help them see the pitfalls of their proposed plan, or sometimes don't help them see them in advance, but instead help them pick the team up after they fall down. Your best value is helping your team members achieve great things. You get to be a force multiplier across multiple teams. Now that you're not stuck spending all of your time in the weeds of the tactical, day-to-day managing of work, you have more time to think strategically instead of tactically. Where does your team need to be in 6 months to a year? How are you going to grow the people you have or hire the ones you don't have? What are the key strategic initiatives that your team could help drive in the next 6 months? How do you help them get there? You're still responsible for your report's career growth. You still have to help them see where they can grow and how they can get there. The hard part is helping them find time or carve out time to dedicate to those growth activities, because we all have more things to do than hours in the day, and that doesn't magically go away with Agile. You get to also focus on problem areas. You can target individuals or teams who are underperforming, and if really needed, could dedicate time to sit with them and retrain or coach them. You have time to actively partner with talent acquisition to find and hire the best team you can possibly get, and spend time onboarding your new reports so that they are able to provide value to the team sooner. And lastly, now you'll actually have time to do all of the things that we talked about earlier when we were discussing the new skills of a Catalyst or Level 5 leader. In some scenarios, it will make sense for the manager of a team of people to also be a product owner. The manager probably has the most or best relationships with stakeholders and is in the right meetings to get the vision and direction of the department communicated firsthand, and understands where this team of people needs to go and can be the most effective at building the team's backlog. It's very important that if you are the manager of a team of people and also a member of their Agile team, that you help your team build a foundation of trust so that they feel comfortable challenging you and sharing their true opinions at retrospectives. If your team does not trust you, their growth as an Agile team will be stunted. One of the traps that managers who become product owners of an Agile team all too often fall into is assigning work to team members. Sometimes it feels like they aren't assigning the work because they might ask, "Hey Susan, a new request came in. Do you think you could pick this up today?" Instead of having a conversation with the team along the lines of, "Hey team, a new high priority request came in. Does anyone have the bandwidth to pick this up today? If not, is there anything we can pause in order to make room for this high priority item?" The latter conversation allows the team to push back when they don't really have time to take on this new request. In the first scenario, Susan probably feels like she has to say yes, that she can do it, because she doesn't feel comfortable telling her manager no. This leads to the second bullet about pushing teams to past a sustainable pace of work into burnout land. If your team doesn't have a foundation of trust and you're assigning work, you won't know when you've put too much on their plate until it's too late. Instead, if you're asking who can take on something and are helping drive the conversations of what they can pause or deprioritize in order to do so, you're giving them the chance to stay in their zone of sustainable pace. If you're like most managers, you're extremely busy, and since you already have one-on-ones on your calendar with all of your direct reports, it's really easy to use that time to catch up on their work that they're doing and answer any questions they have, which coincidentally should be your job as a product owner. You should try to keep a clear delineation between when you are acting as the product owner and when you are acting as their manager. It can get really fuzzy for your direct reports if you let feedback on their work slip into your one-on-ones. Try to pretend you're a scenario one manager and focus on using your one-on-one time to help your reports grow in their careers. Find other time to be their product owner, maybe right after your stand-ups. Or if you don't have time to be their product owner, maybe it's time to coach someone else on the team to become the product owner in your place. Thank you.